Are bold ideas and big picture thinking moving your law firm forward or holding your team back? Discover how the pioneer voice could be your greatest asset or your silent saboteur. Welcome to the Revenue Roadmap, the podcast that helps law firms grow revenue and increase profits through smarter leadership, marketing, and operations. Whether you're a managing attorney or law firm owner, we're here to help you navigate the challenges of scaling a successful firm. I'm your host, Tyler Dolph, CEO of our agency, Rocket Clicks. We are fully focused on helping family law firms grow their revenue and build a very successful firm. Today, I am joined by Tony Karls and Matt Hawker. Tony is the president of our agency. He's also the co-founder of our law firm, Sterling Lawyers, which is a 32 attorney firm across 25 offices in 2 different states. He has built and scaled many businesses, and we're very lucky to have him, along with Matt Hawker, who runs our leadership program, Giant. He is an expert in the 5 voices that we'll be talking about on this series. I'm very excited to have him as well. In this episode, we break down the pioneer voice. The pioneer voice is the future thinker. It's one of the 5 foundational voice types in the Giant framework. And you will learn how this shows up in leadership, how it influences decision-making, and how to balance its positive tendencies along with some of the potential negative attributes. Gents, we are continuing our series on the Giant leadership voices. Today we're going to talk about one of my favorite voices. They're all my favorite, but this is a great one, the pioneer voice. Some really cool, interesting qualities of the pioneer. And so Matt and Tony, I want to get us started with just a little background. What is the pioneer voice? What is it all about? How is it different than the others? Matt, why don't you start and give us some flavor here?
Yeah, absolutely. So pioneers, you know that you have a pioneer on their team. They're very, very future-oriented thinkers. They are the strategic thinkers of the organization, and they're very, very good about casting future visions on what things could look like. The process in order to get to those things is very important to them. And they're never satisfied by where they are today. They're always looking at innovation and the outcomes of that and how a potential or how your company could change because of change, if that makes sense.
Future-focused drivers is how we're going to put that.
That's right.
Would you agree? Any additional background on this particular voice?
No, I mean they're gonna really be focused on the future. They're gonna push for growth. You know, if you were to give a pioneer a disc profile assessment, they'd probably have like pretty strong D quadrant for drive. A lot of drive in pioneers want to see things move forward towards that future version that they see in their head.
Yeah, I got to believe that a lot of entrepreneurs are pioneers. A lot of law firm owners are pioneers. And so as we take a deeper dive into this profile, you know, one thing that we know pioneers really kind of advocate towards is results over relationships. Whereas, you know, Matt and I, we're connectors. We love the relationship. And so, Matt, give us some background on this ideology, and then I'd love to talk through how that particular relationship or that particular personality trait, how does a pioneer work with the connectors of us in the world?
Yeah, so pioneers are really big on they prioritize goals over outcomes, and they don't really care about feelings. So it could be at the expense of somebody getting their quote unquote feelings hurt or team morale going down. As long as things are moving forward towards the goal, it's not that they don't care about people, but they care about process and goals more than people. So they definitely value the results of the work that they're doing and how they're going to get there over how people feel about the work that we're doing and the processing.
We do a lot of coaching and mentoring here at both the law firm we have, Sterling Lawyers, as well as the agency. And I think we have to help our pioneer voices when they're coaching be careful around this particular ideology, is that, you're mentoring someone, that relationship does matter. Tony, have you found that to be the case with you as well?
Yeah, generally. I mean, I think it's not just your first order voice. Like, it really depends what your first and second voices are. So, pioneer connectors, that voice order, they're going to very much value relationships. They're going to value results, but they're not going to be totally oblivious to the relationship side. A pioneer guardian, they're going to be much more sharp and oriented towards future and logic. There's really two spectrums. You have your future present spectrum, and you have your relational and logic oriented spectrum. And kind of their pioneers are very much future, but they can come in one of the two patterns. Some are future with relational, some are future with logic. So it really depends on what that second order voice is. But either way, they will move fast. And, the typical pattern with the pioneer is they will leave a trail of bodies behind them because they're moving too quickly. So speed is something that they love. They want to see things happen. But what actually ends up happening is they leave a bunch of people behind. So like they're way far out in the middle of the field. Everyone else is like, I didn't know we started this walk yet. What are we doing? Pioneers out in the middle of the field screaming, why aren't you guys here yet? So just, it's learning the strengths, but they can get there.
Yeah, I definitely see a lot of that in me. I'm a connector pioneer. So pioneer is my second voice. And I definitely love to move fast. I like to not be in the today, love to think about tomorrow and build tomorrow. But like we've said in this whole series, you got to have a diverse set of voices on your team to ensure that while I may live in tomorrow, we need people to help today. And so any tips and tricks for working with a first voice pioneer, Matt or Tony?
I mean, I would say like having your ducks in a row when you go into a conversation with a pioneer is definitely a good thing. Like they excel at making fast decisions, but they do so in a very logical way. They don't do a whole lot from like gut feel. I would say it's more process based than that. So whenever I go into a conversation with a pioneer, I always want to make sure like I have all of my ducks in a row from this is what the expectation is. This is what, what the outcome is, and they're going to build the path on how to get there. And we'll do that together. But I don't know, Tony, what do you have?
Yeah. I would say like if you're working with a pioneer who's immature, they're not going to want to hear all the details. Like an immature pioneer is going to like basically zone out and they're going to be doing something else if you're like telling them steps 1 through 30. They need to hear step 1, step 2, step 3, and then we win. I think there's some like late night adult cartoon show that says step 1, step 3 is conquer the world. Step 1 is like underpants, and step 2 is I don't know. I can't remember the exact saying, but it's something silly like that. Like pioneers are more like step 1 is put on your underpants. Step 2 is, we're going to go do something, and step 3 is world domination. It's like, okay, what happened in between all the steps? But they can see it all. They can get there on their own, but they'll lose their team. So when you're working with kind of more immature in their understanding of their tendencies pioneer, they'll just zone out. Like they won't want to listen to the details. So it's important to know who your audience is and who you're communicating to. More mature pioneers in their voice, like they will be actively trying to like stay engaged and listen to the details. And it's you can see it if you know who they are and you can see them doing that should be appreciated.
Because it takes a lot of energy.
Yeah. You should trust their future oriented thinking, and should probably question here's the path that we're going to do to get there, because it's likely missing details for everybody else.
And I think that why that's so important. I mean, pioneers, a mature pioneer is really, they're almost like, I don't know this to be a fact, but I would have to assume that there's a lot of higher up level individuals in like the military that are pioneer thinkers, because they have to be super, super effective at like aligning their people, their systems, and their resources. And a mature pioneer is going to listen to all of the details in order to do those things successfully, opposed to the immature pioneer like Tony had talked about.
So Tony, we have our family law firm, Sterling Lawyers. We work with a lot of different family law firms across the country. Where do you see pioneers in law firms? Where can they be most successful? If I have a pioneer on my team, where should I place him or her so that they can really thrive?
They're going to be people that are super goal oriented. So you're going to want to put a big goal in front of them. Like they're people that believe more is possible than what most people believe is possible. So give them big goals, give them big goals, and give them big things to shoot for. Allow them to be part of creating that vision, so they can do there. As a pioneer becomes more mature in their voice and understanding of their tendencies, and gains experience in the workforce, like there can be great change agents for an organization. They can be super powerful for kind of rallying the troops and getting the team behind a goal. So like that's really what they're good at. They're great at those things. So, but it's kind of a double-edged sword. An immature pioneer can like kind of ruin an organization pretty quickly, because they're gonna, if they don't get their way, they're gonna throw what we playfully called grenades, relational grenades into the org, and they're going to create schisms, and they're hold you back. So like it's important to understand who you are and what you do, and get self-awareness so that you can actually lead and influence others well.
Yeah, I think that really feels like the overarching message of this whole series is that understanding first who yourself, what your voice order is, and then being able to understand your team's voice order and be able to put them in positions to be successful.
Yeah. I think it's like, so because it's not necessarily your leaders are always going to be pioneers. If you're mature in your voice, regardless of what you are, let's say you're first voice order nurturer, you're nurturer guardian, and you're running the business. You should try to find a pioneer that has a mature voice that can help you craft a vision, because the nurturer guardian's strength is going to be, how does the team feel and how are we going to process? Like, how's the team building harmony, and how are we going to process the work from a process procedures perspective? They're going to grade SOPs really well, but they're going to have a higher likelihood of struggling, seeing where could we go in the next 5-10 years. Like, that's not their strength. So you don't have to have that strength to lead. How do you pair up and bring people into your team that balance your team out so that you can get to where you want to go?
100%. I think one thing that we've talked about with the pioneer is their ability to look ahead. But the bias for innovation, Tony, I think we've talked about this internally, is that pioneers are great at seeing things in the future, but the timing of when those things need to become real is off, because they think, oh, we need this today, but really your org may not need it in the future. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, I think pioneers they have tons of ideas. They're going to want to chase new ideas. They're going to hate repetitive work. That they're not going to want to be put in a box. So they're going to want to continue to build and create. That's really what a pioneer is looking for, is how do I build and create systems and structures and architecture for a future that's super fantastic. Some of their weaknesses are sometimes they won't fully finish projects. Like they'll get a V1 started, but a mature pioneer will know, I can make something from 0 to 1 Well, then I need to bring someone in that's going to like optimize this thing. 1.1, 1.2, 1.3, 1.4. Like they're going to hate that work. Pioneers can't stand that work. So, really kind of understanding that they're going to be good at like, synthesizing what's happening all in the marketplace. So you see, big areas AI right now. Our partner Jeff, he's huge into AI. He's pushed that for quite a long time. He's big into the deregulation and how that's been followed. He's been following that for 15 years now. And he's just like, he's seeing where the future likely is, but there's not a definitive timeline. And that can be a big problem, because if you make the right decision at the wrong time, it's the wrong decision. So like this might be the right idea at the wrong time. It's a bad decision. So that's something I've learned a lot. I'm second voice order pioneer, first voice order creative. So I see, this is how I experience the world. I always see the world as where it's going to be. But my timing's terrible. It's like always off. Timelines are always off. So as I've matured my own voice, it's like, all right, what I see is true. I got to get with like someone like JP, who's a guardian on our team, to like challenge how we get there, so that we can get there with everybody on the right timeline and we're not overbuilding where we are today.
Yeah, 100%. I think as we've thought about this voice, the ability to see in the future is the strength. The ability to get there and not, destroy people along the way is the risk. And so being able to build maturity in your voice obviously is super important. So Matt, have you seen in coaching pioneers how to help them slow down or reduce their tendency to maybe bulldoze, other voices, or just say, hey, we got to get this done today? And what are you doing from a coaching aspect to help our pioneers see the light?
Yeah, I mean, I think sometimes that bulldozing effect that you talked through, like they have a tendency to kind of quote unquote steamroll or bulldoze other voices that are quieter in nature, like our nurturers, right? Maybe some voices that naturally offer like caution or concern against the things that the pioneer is trying to do. Like they're just going to try to bulldoze over them. Sometimes that comes from a place where the pioneer actually doesn't think that you're competent in what it is that you're saying or you're doing. So they're just going to kind of steamroll over you. And that's they do that by default, by nature. So I think making them aware first and foremost is like feedback. I guess feedback is a big mechanism that I would work with a pioneer to kind of share with them after the fact, right afterwards, like, hey, I'm not sure if you recognize or you saw this, but in this last meeting, this is what you did. And a lot of times they're like, oh yeah, I was thinking 4 meetings from now, later on down the road, the next conversation we're going to have about this. So that's kind of the biggest piece of feedback that I would give to them, is like in the moment, they don't understand or they don't recognize that they're doing that, because it's second nature to them, because they're so focused on the future and where we're going.
Tony, you agree?
Yeah, I mean, I would. I guess the only thing I'd add is like when you're like helping a pioneer become more mature, is giving them a couple questions to ask people that they're working with as they're communicating. Having them ask like, what am I missing? What am I not thinking about? How's the team going to feel about this? And like, because those are all their weaknesses. That's all the things that the pioneer's not going to think about. And then you'll invite the guardians and the nurturers into the conversation, and they're going to fill the gaps. They're going to help you fill the missing pieces that prevent you from getting to that destination together. Because they're going to talk about all the details. They're going to talk about how we should communicate this to the team so that it actually goes well and it's not a shock and a crazy, scenario culturally. So, teaching, like having pioneers not necessarily stopping who they are, but just recognize like, add a couple questions into your collaboration communication that will invite others in and fill your natural gaps. that's typically where I would push.
Yeah, that's a great point. I mean, you want the other voices to feel safe in being able to talk and approach a pioneer in the moment regarding the thing, whatever it is, the thing that the pioneer is excited about that they're working towards. So that's a great way to do it.
Yeah, and from personal experience and working together with a few pioneers, Tony, I think you do a great job of, you bring an idea to our leadership team and you say, hey, I've been thinking about this thing. What am I missing? Or where, from a timing perspective, what are we thinking here? And you allow us to be able to create more solidify that idea and make it real. And so I think the pioneer voice is so essential to helping a business and a law firm grow and thrive. But there's, with all of our voices, there are pluses and minuses, and being able to understand those is going to allow you to be a better leader and a better manager and have a more successful law firm. Gentlemen, I appreciate it. I'm excited to continue this journey through the giant voice order. I hope our listeners are enjoying it as much as we are. And we will see everyone next time on the Revenue Roadmap. If you found this pioneer voice valuable, you have to stick around and check out our episode on the connector, which is our culture builders through relationships. I am one of those as well. Make sure to check it out here, and we'll see you over there.